open up to the floor. Maybe I'll ask you my last question. Populism could actually be a double-edged sword, where you try and make everybody happy, but then how do you finance such programs? I mean, we talked a little bit about how austerity has to end, but on the other hand, fiscal stimulus packages must also be financed properly, and budgets must be managed. So how do you balance the two?
So Shoaib, at the risk of sounding a little bit too cute, because I'm the chairman of the Indonesia Investment Coordinating Board, I think the key is investment, right? So let me give two examples of good populism and bad populism, right? The bad populism would be handing out lavish subsidy, right? Basically subsidizing this, subsidizing that, giving free this, giving free that, right? Over time, that is not sustainable from a fiscal perspective, from a whole lot of perspectives. Number two, it creates this entitlement mentality where the people feel, well, just give me everything for free and I don't need to work, I don't need to take responsibility, I don't need to, be a good person, right? The good populism would invest in the people, right? Would focus on investing in human skill, investing in human knowledge, investing in human health, right? So populist policies that really, for example, give affordable childcare to working class families, really focus on childhood obesity, childhood nutrition, maternal nutrition, prenatal, neonatal. So all these, to me, are not a cost, they're an investment. We're investing in maternal health, we're investing in our children's brain development, neurological development, we're investing in people's knowledge, attitude, values, right? Those are all investment.
Right.
And I think there can be nothing more positive than populist investment, right? But yes, if the course or the strategy that populists adopt is to just throw subsidies and free things at the people, that's going to come to a tragic end somehow.
I think you've just coined a new term, populist investment. Maybe we can take some questions from the floor.
Sure, if there are any.
This is a great opportunity for all of us to ask questions of the chairman. Are there any questions? And do we have mics ready? Yes. Can we have some mics, please? Can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Ernest Hutagal from Telkom Telstra. I got two questions for Pak Lembong. It's more on the impact of the new government in US, Donald Trump.
What the impact of
Trump. Yeah.
So Trump comes with some initiative. But I recall three that may have impact to, let's say, the short term to 2017 for Indonesia, because you mentioned that GDP growth, the target is 5.1%. So my question, what's the risk from this US? Number one, of course, he mentioned about to increase the interest rate quite aggressively. Now, number two, he mentioned about to take back all of the jobs from overseas back to US, hence actually to just like to close the market. And point number three, he mentioned that to increase the tariff to one country like China, so meaning that direct impact to Indonesia. So what do you think the risk of all of this initiative to 2017, and what sort of the mitigation plan from the government to neutralize the impact of this downside, potential downside? My question number two, with all of the changes also in US, and with the Brexit, so it looks like the trend now, with all big players there, big countries, is to close the market. While a lot of foreign investors come to Indonesia to push the government of Indonesia to open up the market, free trade, all of these things. So what do you think with this current situation? Based on your opinion, do you think that it's a good idea to open up the market or to watch and see and try to modify to with the current situation outside there? So that's all my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ernest. I think risks to 2017 GDP and our economy from Trump, right? So higher interest rates, take back the jobs back to the US,
Yes, right.
and trade war with China,
Right.
right? So first, let me share my personal view, right, which is that the impact of Trump will be sizable but manageable, right? I think the impact of Trump will be large, but not as large as the market thinks right now. Right now, the market is really factoring in very large changes. You know, we've seen the biggest moves in the U.S. Treasury bond market. We've seen the biggest moves in currencies since many years ago, right? In some cases, since 2008, currencies haven't moved this much, this fast. So, but I think the reality next year will be smaller than everybody thinks right now. They won't be negligible, right? They will still have a sizable impact, but for now, I think they'll be manageable. Yes, of the three risks that you cited, higher dollar interest rates, take back the jobs to the US, trade war, I would put the interest rate risk front and center. You know, I think that's the clear and present danger, I would say. That's by far the biggest risk, is the markets snowball, right? And basically, dollar interest rates march higher quite strongly. The dollar gets stronger, right? And that's probably the most immediate risk. Now, my answer to that would be, well, the whole world has very little choice but to put our faith in the Federal Reserve, right? As the dollar strengthens, as long-term interest rates go up, the Fed will have to take action, probably initially through rhetoric, right? Through guidance, saying that, you know, they stand ready to counteract excessive market moves.
Right.
That's number one. I think number two, you know, on jobs and trade, you know, let me share a quirky insight. Yeah, I think, and this also goes to your second question, what openness, right? Seems like with Brexit, with, you know, the election of Donald Trump, feels like people want to close their markets, want to close their societies. But I would argue actually that that's very superficial, right? Beneath the surface, economies are becoming more open, right? More connected, and first and foremost because of all the things that we're discussing at this Indonesia Economic Forum this week.
Right.
E-commerce,
Right.
social media, digital communication. I think the reality is, you know, the 70% of the reality is that there's more trade than ever before, right? It's just that it's disintegrated into millions of parcels rather than bulk shipment, right? My personal theory is that trade is bigger than ever before. The problem is it's now less and less trade in merchandise or goods, physical goods. It's more and more trade in services, right? Services and digital content, which is now being exported and imported over the internet. And the problem is we in government don't have the tools to measure it and include it in our trade statistics, right? So, and I think deep down, most people know it, are aware of it, right? So give you an example. when I was down in Australia about 6 months ago as trade minister to launch our trade agreement negotiations with Australia. One of my visits was to a great company called freelancer.com, right? And basically they have millions and millions of people offering digital services. And that includes, designing logos or designing, graphics. To making caricatures, like they gave me a caricature of me, right? Like a little caricature painting, to architectural drawings, right? So more and more of the global trade is in services, not goods. And more and more of it is happening online, in what I would argue is the informal economy, right? And official trade data don't capture that activity. So I think openness is now the reality, regardless of what governments do, right? We can't stop it. We're not stopping it. It's snowballing. It's getting bigger and bigger. In fact, I've said on many occasions, I think the risk is we, the governments, get left behind, right? We're still busy with pen and paper, right? With very traditional ways of measuring and regulating things, and the whole world is abandoning us, moving to the digital economy, online, where we struggle to regulate or monitor them, right? So I think President Jokowi has always said, his two main economic principles are openness and competition, right? Those are the reality, regardless what governments do on the surface, regardless what societies do on the surface. You stop immigration, people will outsource the jobs through the internet, right? You stop people from coming, they'll just do high-definition video conference and, collaborate across borders using digital, right? Whether it's Google Hangouts or other online, WebEx, you name it, and you can't stop it. But maybe we're going to do it anyway, right? Because again, just to make people feel better, right? Just to signal to people that we're doing something to address their discomfort.
Right.